Welcome to the Media Arts and Technology Supplemental Instruction Development Day. I'm Vital Kesar. I'm a faculty in the Media Arts and Technology Department. I am a deputy chair and coordinator of Supplemental Instruction program in my department. In these capacities, I've met and worked with many of you. Thank you for making time this afternoon to join us and for your commitment to teaching and learning. We are here to learn from each other's experience with and insight into SI. We have colleagues here from the Media Arts and Technology departments who have been using SI for quite a while. We have colleagues here from our departments who are new to SI. We are also joined by guest faculty from Teacher Ed, English, Math, and Speech, representative from the SI Advisory Board and LRC SI specialists, as well as our SI leaders. At the center of this event are 3 breakout room workshops facilitated by Teacher Ed professors Leslie Craigo, Jen Longley, Ruth Jirgis, and Mindy Reich-Shapiro. Each one of these workshops will examine SI with a different lens. Our objective is that by the end of today, you will have additional tools and strategies for teaching and learning with supplemental instruction. Chris Stein, Chairperson of Media Arts and Technology, will be speaking next.
Thank you, Vital, and welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm pleased that you all could join us, as well as being joined by President Monroe and Dean Wong and Associate Dean Zumo as well. Our department has been using SI for about 4 years, thanks to a federal Department of Ed grant and also support from Bmccsi and a larger SI effort. And we really look forward to building on this success in the past, continuing to work with it, and also the research into effectiveness for SI, both for in-person and remote teaching and learning. Also want to mention that Susan Stratton and Bert Miller, who are instrumental in today, but also have been instrumental in developing an SI website. It's created by SI faculty, leaders for SI faculty, and student leaders across the college, and it's going to launch before this fall, and you'll have more information on that will be upcoming. This site is sort of a first of its kind in the sense that it's not just for Bmccsi, but also for CUNY at large and other colleges and universities using supplemental instruction across the world. And so it's going to contain information about SI at Bmccsi, but also the research and finding. And they've also been creating documentaries and other content for this site that will really, I think, be helpful for everyone involved in the effort. This is, I think, a great development, and it also aligns us with the sort of international SI international organization and other 2- and 4-year colleges that have been using it. So it's my pleasure now to introduce our president, Dr. Anthony Monroe, who has been very focused on supporting efforts like SI and on student success and support.
Thank you, Chair Stein, and good afternoon to each and every one of you. Thank you for the invitation for me to share a few words with you. As you know, our students are the primary reason why we're here. They are the future generation of community leaders, entrepreneurs, scientists, healthcare professionals, and artists. The academic and student support services that they receive at Bmccsi are critical to ensuring their success in and outside of the classroom. Supplemental instruction is one of the most valuable programs that has made a difference, a significant difference, in the way Bmccsi students learn, engage, and even thrive. As many of you know, Bmccsi has launched its 2020-2025 strategic plan with a list of strategic priorities, including our institutional need to improve student retention, to double degree completion rates, and to increase student transfer and baccalaureate attainment. What you will be learning and discussing during today's event stems from work that started 5 or so years ago with the creation of a cohesive supplemental instruction team that includes faculty, staff, and SI leaders. The collaboration has involved contributions from the Media Arts and Technology Department, which has provided funding support to help sustain this program and explore other academic areas that can benefit from the SI model. I want to congratulate Dean Janet Zumo for leading this effort, and Chris Stein and others for bringing together an innovative approach to helping students succeed. I want to thank everyone involved in planning today's event and applaud the work that you have done as scholars and collaborators to continue enhancing our students' learning experience through supplemental instruction. I'd also like to take this opportunity to remind everyone to continue to practice social distancing and, most importantly, continue to mask up. The pandemic situation continues to evolve, and we are seeing great developments with the vaccine rollout. I encourage you to do your own research and to make your own decisions as it relates to keeping yourselves and those that you love and care for healthy during this pandemic. I wish you a wonderful afternoon and best wishes for the remainder of this semester. Thank you again for this invitation, and have a great professional development session. Thank you.
Thank you, President Monroe. It's wonderful to have you with us. I would really like to introduce the Senior Vice President and Provost, Dr. Erwin Wang. So Provost Wang, if you would like to bring greetings.
I'd love to, Janice. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to welcome all of you to this fantastic opportunity. And I also want to thank Dean Zumo, Professor Stein, and also I should mention Professor Mete Koch, because they have been extremely involved in sort of developing this supplemental instruction initiative. As most of you know, and as President Monroe had stated, the college's mission, plain and simple, is about student success. We want to see our students succeed. Data show that we've been doing a fantastic job in terms of helping our students to get to a better life. You hear about how they start at the lower quintile in terms of finances, but by the time they finish at Bmccsi, they're in the upper 2 quintiles, which is fantastic. The pandemic, as President Monroe has indicated, has really struck hard in New York City, and it certainly had a negative impact not only on the city in general, but certainly on our faculty, staff, and most significantly our students. So we need to work extra hard to figure out how to best serve our students to make sure that they're back on track and that they have every means possible to do well and to succeed, both through efforts inside the classroom as well as outside of the classroom. The Title III grant that Professor Stein referred to, one of the major initiatives which Professor Kaiser and actually Professor Salvati and CIS also have been working on is to indicate how well supplemental instruction can improve student performance. And in the LRC and under Dean Zumo's guidance, we also see how the supplemental instruction overall has made a major significant difference in how well our students do. It's very important that we try to do everything possible to see that our students succeed. And supplemental instruction is clearly one of those factors. We've seen the data. It's been eye-opening in terms of how well the students do and continue to do because of it. So I hope that you're going to gain a lot of valuable information and experience today and be able to apply that in the classroom as we move forward, so that not only will you have a fantastic spring 21 semester, but also moving forward for the fall and the spring as we look forward to hopefully becoming more reimagined and more welcoming as we conquer the pandemic. So again, thank you very much and have a fantastic, wonderful experience today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's great. Shortly after I arrived at Bmccsi in January of 2016, I was invited to a somewhat large, not huge, but a significantly attended event for supplemental instruction. And it was significant because classes hadn't started yet. It was mid-January. It was a major snowstorm and 32 people showed up, 32 faculty showed up. And we participated in an event that was facilitated by a person who had gone through the full training at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, which is the place where supplemental instruction started. And she presented the supplemental instruction model to the faculty that were there. And everyone was engaged. She was amazing. It was just an amazing day. But when she left at the end of the day and we were in the room together, everybody was like, I'm not doing this. So it was interesting. And what we realized then and what we've realized ever since is we have to customize this model to fit BMCC students and BMCC faculty. And so from the beginning, we called it SI influenced, right? From the beginning, that's kind of how we set it up. And because we realized that the strict SI model, and now the University of Missouri at Kansas City is actually promoting these kinds of models and complementing the colleges that have taken SI and made it their own. And so actually this year, we're gonna have another iteration of SI. So I might as well just let you know now that we're gonna be discussing in June what is the next year of SI going to look like for BMCC? And I'm not going to tell you what that is because I expect everyone to participate in that discussion and we will decide what that is. But we will be focusing on, in some cases, less structure and getting more courses involved so that more courses have a touch of SI, because that connection during the pandemic is the best tutoring connection in terms of attendance and participation and outcomes. So we want to be mindful of that. The next thing we'll be thinking of is for people who've never used SI, they may need to go with the traditional model the first time they use it because they're not familiar with it. They want a tutor in their classroom every single week for every class session. They want that tutor engaged. And it might be better for the SI leader also to be in the classroom for at least one semester with a specific topic so they get immersed into it. And so we'll be looking at different ways to use SI, and all of you will be very much involved. I specifically want to introduce Leslie Craigo and Susan Stratton, who are the co-chairs of our SI Advisory Board. And that is a very active group that has worked to continue to evolve. And I don't know, if we were in person, I'd have the members of the advisory board stand up. So you can raise your hands and so we can all see who you are. And just, I want to acknowledge their work in making sure that SI evolves and that we continue it. And we will continue to work in that way. So thank you to the SI Advisory Board. And I also want to thank Chris Stein and Revital Kaiser for putting this together with us, because this is a great opportunity for us to transition from what was a grant-funded SI program to what is now going to be institutionalized. And we have always worked with Revital and the SI leaders. They've been part of our training and they are very familiar with how we operate. So this is just the next iteration of that relationship and that institutionalization of SI in media arts and technology. And we hope to do the same thing with computer information systems. So we're very excited about that. So as I said, we did model our SI program over the model that was developed in the University of Missouri, Kansas City in 1973 by Deanna Martin, and we have adapted it. One of the things that SI says is that the SI leader and the faculty member cannot share information about the students. And we found right away at BMCC that did not work. And so our SI leaders and faculty work closely together to develop the out-of-class assignments, to think about topics for the SI sessions, and to give follow-up to the faculty about the students. So we decided right away we need to have that communication, and that's worked really well for us. So for those of you who don't know, SI is focused not really on the student, but rather on the course. So by that, I mean, we're looking at courses that are traditionally difficult for students to master. And we are offering SI in those subjects. Now, we also have opened it up to faculty who want to use SI because that's the most effective way to offer SI. We've seen a lot of success in our math and ESL courses. We have the biggest participation there. One of the things you should know is that this is not supposed to add additional work to SI leaders to the SI faculty. The faculty get compensated if this happens outside of their regular work. So that means for a full-time faculty member, if they were coming to today's training, we would not be able to compensate them because they're already working full-time. For the adjuncts here today, you will be compensated for your time. For the SI leaders here today, you will be compensated for your time. So we will be working out all these details. I mention that because we have developed a model in which SI leaders and faculty attend events together, and that's a great way for them to work. And in these breakout sessions, they'll be able to really work on how they're going to collaborate. And that's what we've done in the past. So SI leaders are not like teaching assistants. They're not going to do chores, and they're not going to mark tests, and they're not going to grade papers. They're going to work directly with students to teach students how to learn. And the benefit of having SI sessions is that these skills can be used across courses. So once a student masters the SI techniques, then they can take it and move it from one class to another, right? So SI leaders are in the classes, as I said. They are available to make appointments with students and set up sessions with students that work with both the student and the SI leader's schedule. They're able to communicate with the faculty member about exactly which topics the students are struggling with. They're in class, so they have an idea of how the faculty member teaches and what are the expectations of the faculty member. So they can clearly communicate that to the students. SI leaders are supposed to be professional, and they are. SI leaders are selected by faculty. So we ask faculty to pick a student who took their class previously, who excelled in that class. And so that would, that establishes the relationship between the faculty member and the student. And it also creates an opportunity for the students in the class to get to know the SI leader when he or she's in the classroom. So I mentioned we have the Bmccsi SI Advisory Board. It is comprised of faculty, SI leaders, and SI staff. And we created the first ever Bmccsi SI Forum, which was a faculty and SI leader-led event. We have had cross-college SI events facilitated by faculty. And thank you to Johannes Familton for introducing that. That was fabulous. And what else? And we expect to have our Bmccsi website up on the our SI website up on the Bmccsi website, probably by the end of the semester or the fall semester. It's been a little difficult in the midst of the pandemic, but all the material is there and it's ready to go. So we have a little bit of data. I'm not going to read the slide. What I'm going to tell you is that, surprise, surprise, the students who attend SI sessions outside of class at least 5 times have a really, they will outperform the students who do not attend by at least 10% in their pass rates and in their grades. It's all here. And so we found this to be a very promising way to help students get better grades, pass their courses, be retained, and ultimately graduate. So that's why we want to add SI into more classes than we have it now, because we know it works. And we know that left to their own devices, students will not automatically go to tutoring sessions. So although the value of tutoring in SI is the same, the chances of a student going to a session outside of the class is greater if they know the person, right? If they know the SI leader. So I just wanted to stress that. So these are some of the courses we have currently using SI. As you can see, they stretch across the curriculum. We're very open to faculty who want to have SI. We say that faculty can have SI in one section a semester, but we're again open to having more than one. If the faculty member is productive, if the students are passing the classes, we want to put the money and our efforts into the classes and into the faculty members where it works. And so that's what we've been doing. So these are our SI leaders. They are the people in the Learning Resource Center who manage the entire SI program across the college. And we do have SI coordinators that are discipline specific that work under them. And Gia Blackwell is one, and Nandrani Algu is the other. They are amazing. Gia also oversees our academic coaches and other aspects within the Learning Resource Center, including our training and development. And Nandrani oversees all of the tutors and SI leaders in the LRC. Take it away, ladies.
Thank you, Dean Zumo. So as Dean Zumo mentioned, we have SI in various courses across BMCC. And as you can take a look at the list, we have in ACR, F&B, art, business, chem, CRT, marketing. We also have SI leaders in VAT, MES, MMP, CSC, music. So we have a variety of SI leaders in various courses here at BMCC. We started the SI program under Dean Zumo's management during the fall 2016 semester. We actually started out pretty small and then we started to grow. And so it has actually taken on a life of its own. And as Dean Zumo mentioned, it's great to work with faculty such as Professor Stratton, Professor Craigo, and Professor Hamilton and everybody else, Professor Kaiser. So it's really great to have this collaboration and to work with faculty. And I think that this is a great program and it will definitely continue to grow. So I actually put together the data for 2 years. And so for the spring 2019 semester, we had SIs in 75 sections. And student attendance was 2,583. We had about 60 SI leaders in the various courses, and we had about 62 faculty participating in the program. For fall 2019, we had 94 sections, and then we had student attendance 3,753, number of SI leaders about 56, and number of faculty about 60. For the spring 2020 semester, we had 93 sections. We had SIs in about 93 sections of various courses. Student attendance was 3,440, number of SI leaders 63, and number of faculty. We had about 70 faculty members participating in the SI program. For fall 2020, the number of sections dropped a little bit. We had about 75 sections of courses that had SI leaders in them, and student attendance was 3,406. Number of SI leaders we had, it was about 42, and number of faculty about 40 participating in the program. I do not have the data yet for this semester. I can tell you that I think we did have additional sections this semester, and I will continue to monitor that as we go ahead. So maybe during our next training session, I will be able to share that with you. I will now turn it over to Ms. Gia Blackwell.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So I just want to give you a quick synopsis of the role of the SI leader. The good thing with the SI leaders is that ideally, these SI leaders are students that should have worked in your class. We do have a few occasions where SI leaders do work with your colleagues in the event that you cannot find an SI leader, and they are matched with you to assist students in your class. The SI leaders are trained. Not only do they assist the students with course content, but they also model excellent student behavior and also student etiquette and how they should behave inside of the classroom. So the SI leaders are there to help students process information, to bring structure to these SI sessions and keep students on task. And how they do that is depending on how you want the SI leader to work in your class. And there are many ways, especially now that we're remote. The SI leaders can work with the students. They are to look at the students and work with you closely to find out difficult content. They are to take this difficult content and then they develop these outside SI sessions, and they use, we give them planning sheets to do that. They facilitate these group sessions that follow class lectures. We did a study and we got some research back, and what we found is that these SI sessions are more attended right before the class or right after the class. Now that we're in a remote environment, we'll get some more information to find out how these SI sessions work best. What we do find now is that some of the faculty members do ask the SI leaders to work with the students in the class. They do breakout rooms. They assist the students on certain tasks while they are also lecturing. So there are many ways that you can utilize the SI leader inside of your class. The SI leaders are to attend every online class. They are to be attentive, and they're also to take notes. What we notice is that 3 of the most popular platforms that the faculty are using is Blackboard Connect, Zoom, and also Google Meets. But depending on what your choice is, that's how you would, the SI leaders would also follow that same platform to meet with the students. The only thing is that all the students should be notified of this platform and when these SI sessions are happening. So right now, I just want to share with you some differences between an SI leader and a tutor, because, you know, the roles can mirror one another, but there should be some clear distinctions. The SI leader is there to focus on specific content that was lectured already in the class. So the SI leader should not be re-lecturing, should not be introducing any new material. They should be taking the difficult content, creating a plan and going over that. We send the SI leaders different study strategies, all of the material that they need to go over this difficult content. In the event that it does not work, we ask them to be creative and introduce any types of new strategies that they can use with the students to go over this difficult content. Whereas a tutor may focus on just the subject or the course. So the tutors in the LRC are vetted by the academic departments, and then the academic departments let us know, the Learning Resource Center, what courses the tutors can tutor in. So there is really, I'm not going to say there is faculty involvement, but it's not that close-knit involvement like you would have with your SI leader. So the SI leaders know you, they know what your mission, your goals is, they know how you teach, they know how to contact you, whereas a tutor does not have that. There's a little disconnection there. The SI leaders should attend all classes with the students and participate in the lectures, but as we move forward, we are going to be having different models of SI, so that can change. But basically, the SI leader will spend some time in your class, so they will know what is going on in the class to be able to best assist the student. Whereas the tutors do not. They do not attend these lectures, and they depend on what the student brings to them to assist them with whatever difficult content they're having issues with. The SI leaders prepares content for the SI sessions based on the lecture and the course content, where the tutor does not. They assist students with whatever questions they come to the sessions with, but they adapt to the student needs communicated at the onset of the sessions. The SI leaders schedule SI sessions based on the availability of the most students possible. So what does that mean is in the beginning of the sessions or the beginning of the course, we ask the SI leaders to poll the class. And polling the class, they should be taking or using the availability of the majority of the students. And that is the time that we ask them to make these SI sessions or to create these SI sessions. In the event time goes by, let's just say 2 or 3 weeks, and you notice that these students are not attending your SI sessions, we kindly ask that you repoll the class, because things do happen, to schedule a new SI session times, okay? So the SI sessions are based on the student's availability, whereas a tutor, when you come to a tutoring session, it's based on a tutor's availability. And also the SI leader communicates on a regular basis with the course instructor, and instructor is aware of the SI session content. So that's where all of that communication and also the close work with the faculty member comes in. The faculty members knows what's happening in the SI session. They know what the SI leader is planning on their planning sheet. The SI leader communicates with the faculty member any concerns, any issues that may arise, any questions that the students may not communicate with the faculty member. So there's all that collaboration and the communication, it happens there. Whereas in a tutoring session, the communication only happens if needed. And 9 times out of 10, that goes through the tutor manager, and that's Nandrani. So I hope that these 2 slides gave you all just a gist of how well an SI leader can work for you. You can, of course, modify, and there's flexibility of how you can use the SI leader in your course. Throughout the training, we do just ask you to, there's just some do nots that we ask of you to not do with the SI leader. But other than that, there's flexibility. The SI program is a great program, and I hope to answer more questions as we go on in this training. Thank you.
Okay, so we are now going to split into the breakout room workshops. You will be automatically assigned to a workshop based on the one that you chose when you registered. We will be back in an hour to share what we learned. Welcome back. I want to ask our facilitators from each group to share some of the outcomes from your workshops with the whole group here.
Well, Greg is actually going to start. We shared tasks, so Greg is going to share out. And if anybody in our room needs to add in a few things, or if, yeah, thanks, Greg.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Gregory Farrell, Director of the Learning Resource Center. Although it looks like I'm in the Learning Resource Center, it's just an image behind me. So I'm actually at home, just like the rest of you. Okay. So some things we talked about. It was very interesting. We began um, um, with some interesting things, and we put out a few comments, which were, one was students are, and some of us had to respond to that, and learning is, and we responded to that, and teaching is. So I'll just go down the line of some things that were shared. So students are, and some of us said students are creative problem solvers. Someone also said students are an inspiration. And learning is, and many of us felt like this, learning is a lifelong process. Okay. We also said learning is um, ultimate freedom. We had about 2 responses for lifelong process. And also learning is continuous. It's never ending. We mentioned that teaching is, someone said, provide a role for critical thinking. Okay. So these are some of the things we shared about some of the way we felt about the different topics. We also talked about a little bit of, and Leslie, you can talk about this a little bit for me, the emancipatory pedagogy.
So we talk a lot about culturally responsive pedagogy, culturally relevant pedagogy, culturally sustaining pedagogy. You could take this a step further and talk about emancipatory pedagogy, in that we hold really high expectations of our students. We also make the students knowledgeable of the positive contributions of their race and culture. And we help students to develop a critical lens so that they can examine the root causes of oppression and they can develop ways to end oppression.
Yeah.
And we compared how that was similar to supplemental instruction. Do you want me to keep going, or you want to take over again?
I can keep.
Okay.
I can continue. We also, and I love something that Leslie incorporated, was a quick chat. What did we call it, Leslie?
A chat storm instead of
Chat
brainstorm.
storm. There you go. A chat storm where everyone gave their ideas about supplemental instruction, and how did we feel? What did we feel? What were some thoughts about supplemental instruction? And some said supplemental instruction removes barriers to students, so it connects students to faculty. And yeah, I did see that as well. Someone put in the chat that it's that sort of that the SI leader is a mediator between the faculty and the students, to help the students understand the content a little better. And someone also mentioned that is hands-on out of class support as well. And anyone who's a part of the group, if you want to chime in on something that you've said that I'm not repeating right now, you can do so. Okay. What else they said? And it was just some questions about supplemental instruction. We talked about supplemental instruction. The SI leaders chosen are normally students who have taken a course, passed the course, and they can potentially be graduated from Bmccsi and at other CUNY colleges. So SI leaders are generally those individuals who have taken a course, have passed the course here at Bmccsi, and are currently at other institutions. And I think, is there anything else that I may have missed, Leslie? Or go ahead,
The
Zuma.
fact that, yeah, supplemental instruction leaders, so these also go on to tips, you know, that they should be good communicators, they should be flexible, they should be able to engage
Yes.
students. Yeah, so we looked at that, and the whole idea, I think this was yours actually, the diversity. Oh no, that was somebody. Well, both. I think you
Yeah.
both talked about it. That multiple viewpoints, diversity, and that sometimes we have professors that don't really look like our students, but when
Yeah.
our supplemental instruction leaders do look like our students, this is such a powerful connection.
Yes, that's correct.
That they can, that's supplemental instruction is really great for building community, for helping students to collaborate. And then do you want to talk about the whole thing about supplemental instruction, online instruction in COVID, the pandemic?
Yes, yes, and we did discuss a little bit about, and what I've noticed in supplemental instruction, and a few of us, Nadrani G and myself, met with the SI leaders last week, and we learned a few interesting things about supplemental instruction. One, that during the pandemic, supplemental instruction increased. We noticed that students were more connected with SI leaders simply because they were online, they were in the class, and navigating the Bmccsi website was probably challenging for students. So they saw the SI leader as someone who's in the class, who understand the content, who they can reach out to and grab information very quickly from. And so this is something we noticed during the pandemic. And prior to the pandemic, supplemental instruction was 100% face-to-face, or not in a virtual environment. Online tutoring occurred within a learning resource center, but supplemental instruction online did not occur. Students were reluctant, SI leaders, I should say, were reluctant to go online and provide supplemental instruction. However, we do notice, and we did notice that supplemental instruction has increased, and students love it. So it's definitely going to be a component moving forward of both in-person supplemental instruction and online supplemental instruction. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Jen and Ruth, can you share some of the ideas that were discussed in your workshop?
We talked about creating a community of learners. We started off by reflecting on us as learners. What are some best practices that help us learn new content? What doesn't help us? What are not effective practices? And then we kind of, I think some of the questions, especially at the end, right? We talked about students not having the opportunity to, or not coming to those SI sessions. And I think that we didn't have an opportunity to really debrief, but that again goes with the concept of creating a community of learners, right? And again, we want to create those interpersonal relationships to make sure that students are feeling comfortable, right? That we are meeting them at whatever learning style they're coming with, supporting their strengths, supporting their weaknesses, so that they feel comfortable to really come and participate. And I'm sure we're all doing that, right? But kind of along the lines of what Jen says, it's a process and it takes time for that relationship to be built, right? In order to create that successful learning process between faculties and SIs and students. Jen, did you want to add some of the things?
I think, Ruth, you did an amazing job. There's only one other thing I'd like to add. I think we also positioned ourselves as faculty members inside that community of learners, and really seeing ourselves as members of that learning community and reflecting on our own learning styles, what is worked for us as far as learning strategies, what we've seen work in other classrooms, or what's worked with our colleagues in their learning communities, and then how we approach learning, and then taking that information forward as we explore working with SIs in creating a learning community.
Thank you, Jen and Ruth. Mindy?
We had a wonderful conversation about creative collaboration and nurturing creativity, and the role that the SI leaders could play in creating that environment that nurtures creativity. So we talked about what creativity is and the idea that it is about making something unique, making connections. And so we talked a lot about the idea of connection, and we talked about collaboration and brainstorming. People in the group brought up wonderful ideas and concepts of what collaboration and brainstorming looks like, and how I think the importance of, in one point we talked about how it can be intimidating for students to understand that there's not one right answer, that when you're talking about creating something, that there's more than one way to go about it, and that some role that the SI can play is in presenting a less intimidating person for students to collaborate with and to talk to. It was brought up that one of the things that's important to creativity is also challenging our students to take them to the next step of understanding. So it's about learning how to critique. I had shared that one of the things that I do is students respond to each other's work. And so the conversation around that was about making sure that, in responding, right, that there's a level of critique brought to it that actually does elaborate on and expand upon the student's experience and help the student take it to another level. So again, the SI can play a very important role in that, as being a person who is at a closer level to where the student is and provides that link between the student and the professor in the class. And to everybody who's in the group, did I leave stuff out? I left a lot of stuff out. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Can you tell the SI students what the advantage is for them in their careers? Because I know they can put it on their resumes, right? But what do you guys have in terms of experience with kids who have done this? Like, do they go on to become professors? I know it's an advantage for them too. So could you briefly talk about that?
Sure. Not only is it, they might not become professors, they might, but they will learn communication skills. They will learn how to engage with others. They will learn organization. They will, for some of them, they're stepping out of their comfort zone. My supplemental instruction leader right now, English is not her first language. She was very surprised that I asked her to be a supplemental instruction leader. But she is very patient. She's really understands the subject. She's very flexible. She's very engaging, and she speaks Spanish, and she will explain to other students who speak Spanish in Spanish if they don't get the concept in English. And she apologizes to the students who speak a language other than English and Spanish, and they giggle, and then everybody just understands that there's many ways that you can be supportive and helpful. The biggest thing is she is so proud of herself. She has amazing confidence right now. She realizes that there isn't anything she can't do if she puts her mind to it. So confidence, time management, greater knowledge of the subject area. And yes, this is something that I've done. I've worked in higher education. A supplemental instruction leader can put on their resume. But the skills of working with people, explaining, focusing on what works, what doesn't work, problem solving, it's tremendous.
And I would agree with everything that is said. It's life skills that you gain, no matter what your career trajectory is. When you come out of being an SI leader, you are a more polished individual. You are a better communicator. You are thinking critically and being able to discuss your thoughts with the other students. So it's really a great experience. And they may decide to stay in education because it's so rewarding. And it's a helping kind of activity. So.
Yeah, might I also add that as an SI leader, I noticed that the position kind of exposed some of my own personal flaws and my own personal strengths that I was actually unaware of that I even had. I thought I would be good at, engaging people, but it turns out that sometimes my tone of voice can dissuade people from meeting me, because sometimes when I really get into something, my tone becomes really sharp, and some people don't want to engage with a person like that. So it really points out some personal flaws, and it also points out personal strengths. Like, I thought I wouldn't be good at explaining things in ways without actually teaching the material, but I learned to work around working with the actual material and just getting students to learn on their own. It taught me that I can work around certain constraints that I thought I wasn't able to. So there's a lot of personal things that come out of this too, aside from just professional development.
Is there anyone else who wants to contribute to the discussion before we end today's event?
I just have one minor thing to say. I've done online tutoring and SI since last year, so I've noticed that students with disabilities have a lot more harder time as when they would in class. When we used to have class in person, but now that we're doing online learning, it's just way more harder for them to catch up and understand the material, because again, coming from a design background and design classes, where all the learning is very hands-on and very visual, them having to learn it almost on their own, because they're in their houses, they're doing the stuff on their own, they're just watching this professor do it. It has a lot more difficulty for them to understand. And my question really is what is the best way to accommodate such students without having them to get frustrated or again just lose the will to do the assignments in the first place?
So hopefully the Office of Accessibility has provided the professor with some guidance, and sometimes that guidance is just the bare minimum that the person is allowed extra time. But if you reach out to the Office of Accessibility, you can perhaps get more information, but perhaps even best would be to spend time talking with each individual person, because it's going to be different for each person. What supports will help them and support them most. So I think having conversations, what helps you learn? What specifically are you struggling with? What do you understand? How can I make this something that you can succeed in? And then listening, because I think, and I mean, listening and acting on what you hear. People with disabilities, I mean, I know that people with disabilities can succeed. We just need to figure out collaboratively with them how to make that happen. And to the whole idea of relationship, letting them know that we're here for them to succeed and engaging with them to find out what works for each individual person. I think that really is the biggest key.
Collaborative learning comes into play here. So maybe the SI student leader meeting with the faculty and someone from the Office of Accessibility to talk these things through and to try to strategize for individual students. I also think it shows why it would be nice to have a great big meeting of SI leaders, so we can learn from them, because I think we're just getting to the good stuff as we always do.
So I'm absolutely thrilled that everyone participated. The group I was in was amazing. The faculty and the SI leaders contributed so much to the discussion, and I learned a lot. So I'm really grateful that we were able to put this together. As other people have said, I don't want the conversation to stop here. We will have other SI professional development sessions, and you will all be invited. It was an amazing day. Thank you all.